In this lesson, we'll talk a little bit about adding procedural textures. So, as I said, procedural textures are a way to add detail without having to paint a map. So let's say that we have some headlights here. So we've got the geometry for the inside of the headlights, and we want to add sort of a noisy pattern on this. So let's go ahead and create a new material. And I'm just going to call this headlight material. All right. And let's go ahead and we'll have some luminance. We'll select the luminance and we want to add a texture. So here is our area for being able to add a texture. So if we go ahead and click on this, you can see that there are a number of different sections for different kinds of textures that we can add. Let's go ahead and just add a noise. So here we get a preview of what that noise looks like. And it's procedural because it's being generated here in Cinema 4D. This gives you an indication of what it looks like here. Let's go ahead and add that to our headlight. Okay. Now, if we want to modify the noise, we can go ahead and click on the name here, noise, and that will bring us in to change all of these different settings that are used to generate this noise. So it's using these two colors. So if we wanted to change one of the colors, we could go ahead and do that here, and you can see those changes reflected. Okay. We can also choose what kind of noise. Different kinds of noise is going to give you different looks. So here's something that's more sharp, called dense. More of a brain type of a look, which is kind of cool. And so there's a number of different kinds of noise that you can play with. And remember, this is being piped into the luminance, but we can pipe this noise into anything to create different effects. This is kind of cool. Okay, and you can change some of the values like the global scale. We could change to scale down the noise so that you can see, it almost looks like a planet there. We can scale that down. Okay, and again, if we want to go back, change the noise type, we can do that in here. Okay, so just find a noise pattern that you kind of like, or sort of an electric pattern. Let's go back to the dense. Look good, I think. All right. So then we can go back out to our luminance, and we can change, actually we want to change the mix mode. The brightness isn't going to do anything right now, but right now we can go ahead and multiply this, and then we can mix that down. So if we don't want the effect to be as drastic, or you could go in and change the colors that you're using. Okay, so maybe something like that. You can maybe give it a little bit of color there if you wanted to. Let's maybe add a little bit more white, just a little bit of yellow in there. Okay. Maybe go back into our noise, and under the black, maybe set that instead of black, maybe to a gray. It's kind of brighten that whole thing up a little bit, make it a little bit less contrast here. Okay. So something like that. And keep in mind that's in the luminance channel. That's being generated by this noise, which we can define in here. We haven't painted any maps, we haven't done anything like that, but it's actually using this. And you can see it's using our texture space to project that. So let's go ahead and add a gradient. So let's say that we have a pipe here. So we'll create a new material, and this material we'll call pipe. Let's go ahead and add it to one of these pipes. So we'll add it to the pipe. Let's add a color in here. And we actually want to have it become darker at both ends. And so we'll pipe in, instead of using a plain color, we'll go ahead and pipe in a gradient. So right now you can see that gradient is starting here and flowing around the pipe. So I want to go ahead and follow this gradient through. It's right now a 2D gradient along the U. So when you have a curve like this, or a pipe like this, and it's laid out, you're going to have a U direction and a V direction. So right now it's going around the U direction. We want it to go along the V direction. So we'll choose 2D V. And you can see how that looks here. Okay, from side to side versus bottom to top. All right, so now we have it going in the right direction. So I want both ends to be darker. So you can see this end corresponds over here because it's black. So I can go ahead at any time, click a point on here, it'll take on whatever color that is, and then I can move that point around. So I can move this down to create a tighter area of darkness down here. Okay, I want to add darkness over on the other side of the gradient as well. So I can go ahead and click over here, click on that and add black, and do the same thing, create an area of darkness in there. I can move this out a little. Okay, move this white in. Now if we want this color to be, we can change the fall off here. If we want this color to be something other than white, we can go ahead and say, okay, I want it to be gray. All right. I can maybe give it a little bit of reflectivity. So dial the reflection down if we want to do that. Okay. And then we have that sort of darkness. Now you can see kind of a line there, so we can go back in at any time and edit that to make it a little bit softer. Oops, get the other side there. So make that a little bit softer transition, but it just gives you, you got some dirt collected in there. You can use gradients to do that. If you've used something like Maya, it's going to be comparable to using a ramp to drive these. And we're using it to drive the color, but you could use it to drive any of these different channels that you want to drive. Okay? So there's a lot of different kinds that you can use. You can use the Fresnel, which kind of deals with the way that the edges or the faces, what direction they're facing. So if you look at something reflective like a window, you see that it is, as it goes around the surface, the amount of reflectivity changes. And so you can modify that using Fresnel. And you can see we have a gradient and then noise. And then down here, there are several other kinds that you are kind of beyond the scope of this course right now, but we'll take a look at a couple of these coming up in dealing with the bump, but they'll allow you to get different effects as well. And the key is that these are generated here in Cinema 4D, so we're not having to go paint anything, and it's working just fine. Okay, so let's go ahead in the next lesson and take a look at working with material presets. So there's a lot of different presets in here. Some of them have strange names, and then there's other ways you can find them through the content browser. And so we'll take a look at really quickly creating different surface type effects using some presets. So we'll go ahead and do that next.